I'm 28, making over $1 million a year, and yet, here I am, still single. None of the men from high-end matchmaking services could catch my eye. One day, I came across a wealthy heiress relentlessly pursuing an incredibly handsome man. Without hesitation, I handed her $1 million and said, "From now on, don't bother him anymore. He was mine now." I then turned to the handsome man and said, "Let's get married." On my 6th blind date, the guy didn't waste any time and just came right out asking for a house. My name is Mina, I'm 28 years old, an only child, and single. I'm currently the president of the Southeastern region for TR Group, with an annual income in the tens of millions. The man in front of me was a so-called blue-chip candidate, carefully selected by a high-end matchmaking company. I neither agreed nor refused. "Oh, then tell me, what makes you think you can ask for that?" He said with a straight face. "First of all, I'm younger than you. I just turned 23, and I'm in the prime of my life. I'm in great shape. And I'm pretty good looking. Even though I don't make as much money as you do, having me around would definitely make you look good, right? And we already agreed on no marriage or commitment, so with the money you've got, you could easily buy an apartment and put both our names on it. That makes sense, right?" I'd been on many blind dates and met some shameless people, but never a man so brazen about wanting to live off someone else. "Sorry." I took a sip of coffee, giving him a mocking once-over. "Someone like you probably doesn't deserve an apartment from me." Leaving the cafe, I felt a weight lifted off me. Driver Jacob asked, "Mina, home or back to the office?" "Back to the office," I said coolly. Sure enough, as soon as I got into the car, my mother called. I had become numb to her repeated lectures and could only try to placate her as best as I could. After I hung up the phone, I just sighed and felt totally drained. As I grew older, my mother's pressure to get married only intensified. She nagged me over every meal and afternoon tea, believing that no matter how capable I was or how much money I made, it was all useless without a husband. I must get married. Arriving at the underground parking lot of the company, I had just stepped out of the car when a white sedan sped past, with a man in a white turtleneck sweater at the wheel, who zipped by in a flash. I didn't get a clear look at his face, but in that moment, my heart skipped a beat. Without thinking, I grabbed my phone and snapped a picture of his license plate. Jacob, utterly confused, asked, "Mina, what are you doing?" "Mina, you." "Nothing. Nothing." I casually tossed my phone back into my bag. While I said it was nothing, my heart was stirring with thoughts. 5 years ago, I was just a regional manager for the Southeastern division of TR Group, and Skylar was my mentor. I used to admire him, but he took advantage of that admiration and made a move on me. He brought me to the presidential suite of a hotel. When I thought I was done for, someone appeared and saved me, but I was too dazed to see who it was. But in that instant just now, I felt like I might have found my savior from that night. As soon as I arrived at the office, I instructed my assistant Alyssa, "Get me a list of eligible bachelors, aged between 24 and 30. No bad habits, non-smokers, non-drinkers, decent character, and at least an 8 out of 10 in looks and physique. That's all I can think of for now, fill in the rest as you see fit." I had given up on high-end matchmaking services. Alyssa, having worked with me for years, was highly efficient and quickly compiled a list for me. I carefully read through the resumes of all the men on the list, and my eyes finally settled on a man with a handsome, refined appearance. "That one," I said. 2 days later, I met the man named Bryce. Even though he was really good looking, I still passed on him. There was no chemistry. After he left, I continued to sit and enjoy my coffee, savoring the rare quiet of the afternoon. Just then, a sharp voice shattered the tranquility. "Fabian, I made you my boyfriend, so you better appreciate it." After he left, I continued to sit and enjoy my coffee, savoring the rare quiet of the afternoon. Just then, a sharp voice shattered the tranquility. "Fabian, I made you my boyfriend, so you better appreciate it." I was blocked by a tree and could only see a tall, slender silhouette. Even just seeing his silhouette, he had this strong, confident presence, like a lone figure standing tall and unshaken. Seeing that he was unmoved, she softened her tone. "If you agree to be my boyfriend for a month, I'll give you $1 million. Seeing that he was unmoved, she softened her tone. "If you agree to be my boyfriend for a month, I'll give you $1 million. I tapped my fingers lightly on the table. Public displays of financial power weren't uncommon, but offering $1 million outright was quite rare. I stared intently at the back of the man's head, thinking that such a huge temptation would surely make him waver. The man seemed to chuckle slightly before responding in a calm tone. $1 million, and you think I'll be your boyfriend? Do you think it's not enough?" she asked. "It's not that it's not enough. It's that you're not worthy," he said, turning to leave. In the moment he turned, I saw his face clearly. No wonder the rich heiress was so infatuated with him. In the moment he turned, his gaze met mine, watching the scene. Our eyes locked, and he quickly averted his glance. I wasn't embarrassed by being caught watching. Instead, I curled my lips and whispered, "Do you need any help?" He ignored me, staring motionlessly, as if deep in thought. The heiress, unable to bear the humiliation, immediately called her bodyguards to block him. Fabian Lucas frowned, clearly growing impatient. I glanced down at his clenched fists, wondering if he would resort to violence and if he could take on the two bodyguards. The two bodyguards were muscular and obviously very professional, although he was tall and lanky. Taking on two of them might not end well for him. Besides, getting into a public fight could land him in trouble. "Aren't you leaving yet?" Fabian's dark eyes swept over me, and he spoke softly. Although I usually disliked meddling, I changed my mind this time. The heiress approached. "Fabian, I'm giving you one last chance. Will you be my boyfriend?" "No. You can't force something that isn't meant to be." I got up and walked over to the wealthy heiress. "There's no point in pushing it if it doesn't feel rigged. It's none of your business." The heiress glared at me. "Don't tell me you fancy this pretty boy, too." At the mention of pretty boy, Fabian's fists tightened again. This young girl, barely out of her teens, liked someone but chose the worst possible way to show it. She was probably relying on her status to do as she pleased, speaking without a filter. "Yes, so what?" I looked at her with a faint smile, not bothering to explain. "How much are you offering then?" she sneered. Fabian shot the heiress a fierce glare. "Ha! I'm not as obvious as you." Throwing money at him, but... I pulled a card out of my bag and placed it in her hand. "I don't mind using money to make some problems disappear, like you. There's $1 million on this card. Starting today, you are not to bother or harass him anymore. Or don't blame me for being unfriendly."